Good day, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So now, we're the first group who will discuss to you the structural organization of the human body from cellular to systemic level and the support and movement of the body. And the last one is the bones and the skeleton of axial and appendicular. But before I will going to discuss that one, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Crystal Katie Tevez together with J. Vincent Alinsasagin, Crystal Nicole Alimahin, and Glidil Abanin. So, the first topic of today's discussion is the structural organization of the human body from cellular to systemic level. And here are the following objectives. Number one is identify the levels of structural organization of the human body from cellular to systemic level. And the next one is describe each level and how they relate to each other. The organization of the human body often discussed in terms of distinct level of increasing complexity from the smallest chemical building blocks to a unique human organism. But also, to study the chemical level of organization, the scientists consider the simplest building blocks to matter. And as the matter of fact, all matter in the universe is composed of pure substances, or also known as the periodic elements. For example, the helium, hydrogen, lithium, carbon, and so on. So the first topic of today's discussion is the structural organization of the human body from cellular to systemic level. And we have 7 levels organization in our body, from the simplest to the most complex, such as the atoms, molecules, organelles, cells, tissue, organ, and the last one is organ system. And later on, we will going to discuss each one of them. So now, let's identify the levels of organization. And the first level is the chemical level, which composed of atoms and the molecules. So the first one is atom. And atom are also known as a particle of matter that uniquely defines as a chemical element. And basically, atoms are made up of subatomic particles such as the proton, electron, and neutron. And now we are going to discuss what proton, electron, and neutron is.
First one is proton. Proton is a subatomic particle found in the nucleus of every atom. The particle has a positive electrical charge equal and opposite to the electron. So the second one is the electron. Electrons are one of the 3 main types of particles that make up atoms. Unlike protons and neutrons, which consist of smaller, simpler particles, electrons are the fundamental particles that do not exist. So the last one is a neutron. Neutral subatomic particle that is constituent of every atomic nucleus except the ordinary hydrogen.
So now, if we will going to combine the 2 or more atom, what will happen? So, simply as that, it will form as a molecule. O dito na papasok yung molecules, such as the water molecule, protein, sugar that found in living things. So, Miss Crystal Kate, ano po ba yung molecules that you have mentioned earlier? So, simply as that, molecules are the building blocks of all the body structure, or basically, or should I say, it is the electrically neutral group of atoms that join together by chemical bonds. So, here are the example of the molecules. The next level is the organelle level, and we all know that organelle, it is a specialized structure that perform various jobs inside the cell. Okay, I'll repeat. Organelle perform various jobs inside the cell. Or also, it is a subcellular structure that has or more specific jobs to perform a cell, just like controlling cell growth and producing energy. And here are the important cell organelles, just like the nuclei, which store genetic information. Next is the mitochondria, which produce the chemical energy. And the last one is the ribosomes, which assemble the proteins. So now, the next level is cellular level. And we all know that cells are the smallest independently functioning unit of living organism. Or also, single-celled organism like bacteria are extremely small, independently living organism with a cellular structure. Unlike sa human, because the human is multicellular organism with independent cells working in concert together. Because as a matter of fact, all of the structures of human anatomy contains cell, and almost all function of human physiology are performed by cells or initiated by cells. Because our body are made up of trillions of cells. So there are three parts of cell: the cell membrane, the nucleus, and the cytoplasm. And now we're going to discuss it one by one.
The first one is the cell membrane. Cell membranes protect and organize cells. All cells have an outer plasma membrane that regulates not only what enters the cell, but also how much of any given substance comes in. So the second one is the nucleus. The nucleus controls and regulates the activities of the cell and carries the genes, structure that contains the heredity information. Nucleoli are the small bodies often seen within the nucleus. The last one is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a gel-like fluid inside the cell. It is the medium for chemical reaction. It provides a platform upon which other organelles can operate within the cell. All of the functions for cell expansion, growth, and replication are carried out in the cytoplasm cell.
So, we all know that cells are the basic unit of structure of the human body, as they are all in living things. And each cell carries out the basic life process that will allow the body to survive. And here are the different kinds of cells.
Kinds of cells. The first one is the blood cell, surface skin cell, bone cell, columnar epithelial and goblet cells, neuron, cardiac muscle cell, skeletal muscle cell, and the last one is the smooth muscle cell.
So now, when we take a group of cells or put them all together, we get the tissue, or dito papasok yung tissue level na tinatawag.
So the next level is the tissue level, and we all know that tissue are groups of similar cells that have a common function. And here are the four basic tissue types such as the epithelial, muscle, connective, and the last one is the nervous tissue. So the first one is the epithelial. Epithelial is made up of cells that line inner and outer body surfaces such as the skin and the lining of the digestive tract. On the other hand, epithelial tissue protects the body and its internal organs secretes substances such as the hormones and absorbs substances such as the nutrients. So the next one is the muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is made up of cells that have the unique ability to contract or become shorter. Muscles attach the bones and enable the body to move. Next is the connective tissue. It is made up of cells that form the body structure. The last one is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is made up of neurons or nerve cells that carry electrical messages. Nervous tissue makes up the brain and the nerves that connect the brain to all the body parts.
So now, if we were going to put or combine all the tissues together, what will happen? So basically, it will form different kinds of organs such as the heart, brain, liver, and so on. So dito na papasok yung organ level. And later on, we're going to discuss the different kinds of organ. So the next level is the organ level. And as what I have said earlier, that organ is when we put all the tissues together in order to perform some types of function, and that's what we get the organ. And each organ is specialized functional center responsible for a specific function of the body. And here are the different kinds of organ.
Here are the different kinds of organs that found in the human body.
So, at the organ level, the complex functions become more possible because of the specialized activities of various tissue types. For example, the stomach consists of smooth muscle tissue for carrying movement, while it is innervated but also it is supplied by the blood. So when we put or group those organs, it will work together to perform major function or meet the physiological needs of the body. Or dito na mabubuo yung systemic level na tinatawag or the human organ system. So now, The last level of organization is the systemic level or dito na nabubuo yung organ system na tinatawag ko kanina. And here's the definition of human organ system. It is a group of organs that work together to carry out a complex overall function. So as what I have said earlier, now when we group those organs, the organ system will arise because many organs work together to accomplish a common purpose or to create an organ system. So we have 12 organ system in our body, and now we will going to discuss each one of them.
Here are the organ systems that found in the human body. The skeletal system provides structure to the body and protects internal organs. The muscular system supports the body, allowing it to move, and the digestive system that breaks down food and absorbs its nutrients. The respiratory system takes in oxygen and releases waste gases. The nervous system controls sensation, thought, and movement. And the circulatory system transports oxygen, nutrients, and other substances. Next is the cardiovascular system. It transports oxygen, hormones, and nutrients to the body cells and move waste and carbon dioxide away from cells. Next is the lymphatic system. It defends against infection and diseases, moves lymph between tissues and bloodstream. Next is the endocrine system. It produces hormones that communicate between cells. Next is the integumentary system. It provides protection from injury and water loss, physical defense against infection by microorganisms, and temperature control. The next is the reproductive system. It produces gametes and sex hormones. The urinary system. It removes extra water, salts, and waste products from blood and body. Our organ system do not work alone in our body. They must all be able to work together.
Body movement. Body movement is the change in the position of a body part with respect to the whole body. It is the one significant features of all living beings. The blinking of the eyes, the breathing, eating are all examples of movement. The support. The skeletal system works as a support structure for your body. It gives the body shapes, allows movement, makes blood cells, provides protection for organs, and stores minerals. The skeletal system is also called the musculoskeletal system. The musculoskeletal system is made up of two systems, the muscular and skeletal system. So what exactly the musculoskeletal system? The musculoskeletal system provides mechanical support of the body, internal organs, and permit movement. It is composed bones, cartilage, skeletal, muscles, joints, and connective tissues such as tendons and ligaments. Ang mga buto ay nagsisilbi rin bilang pangunahing imbakan ng mineral sa ating katawan. Nag-iimbak sila ng calcium at phosphate at naglalabas ng mga ito according to the body's need. Red bone marrow is the body's production center for blood cells. So, ang red bone marrow daw ay kung saan nilikha ang red blood cells, platelets, and white blood cells. Si red blood cells ay nagdadala ng oxygen sa ating mga baga at organs. The central nervous system control body movements by stimulating skeletal muscles to contract. Contraction of skeletal muscles move bones which act as levers. Bones articulate with each other through joints. Cartilage provides padding for the ends of bones within joints. Muscles are connected to bones by tendons, while bones are held together by ligaments. Bones are classified according to their shape. The long bones, short bones, and flat and irregular bones. Ang long bones ay responsable para sa karamihan sa mga paggalaw ng ating katawan. Ang short bones naman ay may limitadong paggalaw, while ang flat and irregular bones ay ang mga buto na pangunahing proteksyon na sumusuporta. The most common bone disease is osteoporosis or porous bone, kung saan ang pagkawala ng buto at paghihina and increasing risk of fractures. Osteoporosis is commonly due to old age, female, small body frame, genetics, too little sex hormone, white and Asian, too much thyroid hormone, overactive parathyroid or adrenal gland, diets low in calcium, vitamin D or proteins, and lack of exercise. The most common and also most movable type of joint is synovial joint. The bones of a synovial joint are separated by a cavity containing synovial fluid, which serves as lubricant. Together, the fluid in the cartilage that lines the bone surfaces makes the movements at synovial joints almost friction-free. There are also small fibrous sacs containing synovial fluid called bursae, matatagpuan sa pagitan ng mga muscles or sa pagitan ng buto at tendons. The most common disease of joint is arthritis. There are two main types of arthritis, the osteoarthritis and rheumatoid. Ang osteoarthritis ay naiilarawan sa pagkawala ng cartilago or cartilage, pag-udyok ng buto at walang malaking pamamaga. Ang rheumatoid naman ay resulta ng pagmamaga na may immune cells at mga kemikal na nagpapaalab na nagdudulot ng pinsala sa joint. It's not clear how rheumatoid arthritis starts, but genetic predisposition together with inspection of the joint are likely to be among the causes. Muscular tissue consists of specialized elongated muscle cells na tinatawag na mga hibla ng ating muscles na pinagsama sa mga fascicles. Muscle fibers, fascicles, and whole muscles are wrapped in a layer of connective tissue. Coverings are continuous with a tendon that connects to a nearby bone. Fascicles arrangement determines the strength of a muscle and the direction it pulls. Karamihan sa mga karaniwang sakit sa muscles ay sanhi ng pinsala o labis na paggamit at kinabibilangan ng sprain, strains or pinsala sa pila, cramps, at tendonitis. And that's the end of musculoskeletal system. And now, let's move on to the muscular system. The muscular system is an active part of musculoskeletal system. Muscles are between our bones and skin, and the adjoint our bones through tendons, the eye, to elastic organs that can be lengthened or shortened, causing some body parts movement. As humans have approximately 630 muscles according to the movement that they make. We can differentiate voluntary and involuntary muscles. Voluntary muscles move only where we want, like run, jump, and etc. Involuntary muscles move without realizing, like heart or stomach. And lastly, the skeletal system. The skeletal system is made up of all bones and cartilage. The skeleton gives us our shape and differentiates us from other living things and allows us to walk, run, or jump. Alam niyo ba na ang ating katawan has 206 bones and each one of them has their own name? Some of them are skull na pinoprotektahan ang ating utak, the spine na nagpapanatili ng isang matatag at patayo, the jaw that allow us to move our mouth to chew, ribs na nagpoprotekta sa ating puso at baga, and last, femur, ang pinakamahabang buto sa tao na matatagpuan sa ating mga binti. And that's the end of my report. Thank you and God bless.
So the last topic of today's discussion is the bones and skeleton of axial and appendicular. And here are the following objectives. Number 1. Describe the functions of the skull system and define its two major subdivisions. Number 2, identify the bones and bony structure of the skull, the cranial suture lines, the cranial foci, and the openings in the skull. Number 3, discuss the vertebral column and regional variation in its bony components and curvatures. Number 4, describe the components of the thoracic cage.
I will show you how some of the bones and regions function to make up this portion of skeleton. I hope to point out the importance of these parts for your learning enjoyment. Are you ready? The axial skeleton is the part of skeleton that consists of the bones of the head and the trunk of the vertebrate animal, including humans. The primary division of the skeleton system are the head, thorax, and the vertebral column. The human cranium supports the structure of the face and forms the brain cavity. In the skull, there are 8 cranium bones, 1 occipital bone, 2 parietal bone, 1 frontal bone, 2 temporal bones, 1 sphenoid bone, and 1 ethmoid bone. There are 14 facial bones, 2 maxillary bones, 2 palatine bones, 2 nasal bones, 2 inferior nasal, 2 zygomatic bones, 2 lacritic bone, 1 vomer, and 1 mandible. 22 bones of cranium function to protect the brain and entrances to the digestive and respiratory system. The 14 facial bones provide the muscle attachment, facial expressions, eating of food, help to separate the nasal and oral cavities, house the sinuses, and to protect the entrances to the digestive and respiratory system. The 1 hyoid bone functions to support the larynx and provide attachment for our tongue to deliver our ability to speech. The 6 auditory ossicles are located in the cavity within the temporal bone. Earlier, skull of human ancestors, for instances, have been shown to have markedly smaller cranial capacities as well as more powerful jaws than to do the Homo sapiens species which is existing today. Bone supports the larynx and is the attachment point for the tongue and muscles of the larynx and pharynx. The hyoid bone plays an important part in our speech. The greater horn supports the larynx and is the part attached to the tongue. The lesser horn are attached to the styloid ligaments. The articulations and joint where the bones come together are called sutures. Sutures are held together by connective tissue. Each suture comes with a name, but for now, let's refer to the 4 major sutures. The lambdoid suture. This separates the occipital bone from the 2 parietal bones. The coronal suture. This suture attaches the frontal bone to the 2 parietal bone. The sagittal suture. Found the midlane, it runs parallel between the 2 parietal bones. The squamous suture. This suture forms a boundary between the temporal and parietal bones. The spine, ribs, sternum, sacrum, and coccyx. The vertebral column consists of 24 vertebrae, 1 sacrum, and 1 coccyx. The vertebral column is made up of 4 spinal curves. The cervical curve, which balances the weight of our head and our neck. The thoracic curve, which accommodates the thoracic organs. The lumbar curve, which balances the weight of our trunk over our lower limbs and assists in our standing. The sacral curve, which accommodates the abdominopelvic organs, which thoracic cage consists of 1 sternum, 24 ribs. The vertebral regions are the cervical, consisting of the atlas and the axis, which constitutes the neck and attaches the thoracic vertebrae. The thoracic, consisting of ribs and costal and transverse costal facets. The lumbar, which articulates with the sacrum, which articulates with the coccyx. The 24 ribs originated between the thoracic vertebrae and end in the wall of thoracic cavity. Ribs 1 to 7 called the true ribs, and ribs 8 to 12 are called the false ribs, since they do not attach directly to the sternum. The last two pairs of ribs 11 to 12 are called floating ribs, because they do not have no connection with the sternum or vertebral ribs. The sternum is the bony breast, bone in the center of the ribs. Its movements are important in the respiration. The thoracic cage and ribs protect the heart, lungs, thymus, and other structures. It serves as attachment for muscles involvement in respiration, position of the vertebral column, and movement of the pectoral girdle and upper limbs. Spinal disorders is when one vertebra slips forward in front of another vertebrae. The result is pain in the back, thighs, and lower legs. Muscle spasms, weakness, and tight hamstrings may accompany it. Symptoms can become worse with exercise. This disorder can result from improper lifting of heavy items, weightlifting, or high-impact sports. Treatment with physical therapy, spinal injection, or surgery are usually prescribed. Scoliosis is an abnormal curvature of the spine. It is the most common in adolescent females. It is a genetic condition that frequently runs in families. Some signs of it are one hip higher than the other, one shoulder blade appearing more prominent, small curves in the back, and deformity, usually in the upper back. Treatment with back braces to try restrain the curves during growth may help somewhat. In some cases, surgery to straighten the spine and create a fusion is preferred. The skeletal system is made up of bones, cartilage, ligaments, and tendons. This system serves many vital functions in the body. This skeletal system provides structural support for the body and protect the vital organs. An example for this is how the rib cage forms a protective casing over the heart and the lungs. The skeletal system is also responsible for the movement in our bodies. Bones are extremely important part of the skeletal system. Bones enable the body to move by providing a hard surface in which muscle can exert force to move the body parts. Something that I was surprised to learn was how bones also serve as the store for minerals and energy reserves. Within each bone is a supply of calcium, phosphate, and lipid, which are enclosed within the yellow marrow. There are approximately 206 bones in human body, and two types of this bone tissue. These tissue are also known as the compact bone tissue and spongy bone tissue. Compact bone tissue is dense and spongy bone tissue is strong and found within the inside of the long bone shaft. Bone tissue is constantly removed and serve to keep the bone resilient, repair broken bones, and to provide the homeostasis of blood calcium level. Learning about the skeletal system changed me because it taught me the importance of taking good care of my bones in order to maintain the strength as I age. Over time, the tissues in bones and joints break down faster than they are renewed. This is known as osteoporosis. Calcium intake may help to prevent or slow down this process. I don't have nearly enough calcium in my diet, so I'm going to try to incorporate more. I am also going to make sure that I keep up with my exercise routine, as exercising stimulates bone
Appendicular skeleton is the portion of the skeleton to vertebrates consisting of the bones and the appendages. There are 126 bones. The appendicular skeleton includes the skeletal elements of within the limbs as well as supporting shoulder girdle and pelvic girdle. There are parts of the appendicular skeleton. A pectoral girdle is also referred to as a shoulder girdle. Connects your upper limbs and the bones along the edges of your body. You have two pectoral girdles in your body. The pectoral girdles consist of the two bones that make your shoulder, clavicle, and collar. The upper limbs or upper extremities are the forelimbs of an upright posterior tripod vertebrae extending from the scapula and clavicles down to including the digits, including all the musculates are and ligaments involved with the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and knuckle joints. Pelvis girdle is also called bony or pelvis or pelvic girdle in human anatomy. Base and shape and completes the bones that connects the trunk and the leg, supports and balance the trunk, and contains and supports the intestines, the urinary bladder, and internal 6 organs. The lower limbs is extremity refers to the part of the body, to the hip, to toes. The lower extremity includes the hip, knee, and ankle joints, in the bones of the tight leg and foot. Many people refer to the lower extremity as the leg, and in fact, the leg is the part of the body between the knee and an ankle joints. The appendicular bones is the bones of the appendicular skeleton, make up the rest of the skeleton, and the are so called because they are appendages. Skeleton includes the bones of the shoulder girdle, and the upper limbs, the pelvic girdle, and the lower limbs.